As you look at this building here on South 2nd Street, I always identify it with three towers. The South Tower, the small tower, it was built in 1928 when that building went up. That tower is almost immediately over the office that Lyon Bradley had and Harry Bradley had on the south side on Greenfield Avenue. And so the 1928 tower lasted until 1950. By then they had started moving north and they were building, and so in 1950 they built the first clock tower, and it operated until 1962. And in 1962, Harry was still living, and they thought it was time to build another clock tower. And so they converted the current clock tower in the middle of the building to temperature, and then they built world's largest four-sided clock, twice the size of Big Ben in London, although we don't have chimes in ours like Big Ben does. But they wanted the symbol of the octagon to be a worldwide symbol, and so they built the largest clock tower in the world, and it has been in the Guinness Book of Records ever since. One of the things that I like about the clock tower, number one, is the great view from the top on the 17th floor. Number two, the fact that it was built and designed by our engineers. Our sheet metal mechanics built the hands. Our engineers designed it. Our engineers designed the mechanism and the gears and the four independent motors that operate the clock. And so it truly is an employee project, and there are many employees that have fond memories of being a part of building a little watch for Harry. And so it is also functional in that it encapsulates a water tower. I always thought that was a great story, that Harry says, I don't want an ugly water tower on the top of my building, so let's build a clock tower to cover the water tower. Well, it may be the most expensive covering of a water tower ever known, but it is a great functional use of that tower. The big clock tower sitting on top of the building was to symbolize quality throughout the world, and it was actually finished in early 1962, but still covered, and Harry Bradley and Fred Look decided that they would delay the grand opening and the unveiling until Halloween night. So on Halloween night, October 31, 1962, they pushed an Allen Bradley push button and lit the clock tower, or the moon over Milwaukee, for the world to see.
The one we had before, I think, was the largest four-sided clock. The temperature clock was the largest four-sided clock, but I think Big Ben was a larger clock. Well, anyway, I'm not sure why. I suppose just to get the biggest one of the clock, it was determined that we were going to have one of this new building. And you'd almost think, geez, why have one right next to another? Well, as it turns out, this tower is so much larger than the other tower. It has offices in, and there are other uses for that tower. And if you get up there, you know, like how better to show the logo than to have a clock on that tower too.
A lot of people think we make clocks. It was all built in the building, just like the old clock tower had been. It was done by our special machinery group, and designed and developed and literally built on campus, on site, and put up. And really still stands as I think for a lot of people, the size of it, the sheer bulk of it, is somewhat of a marvel today. And it's even more phenomenal when you consider that it was done all in-house.
We made the hands right down in the cabinet department, and I was part of that crew that was working on the hands. Even there, the exercise quality, there were constant engineers coming out to check it out before it was completely right.
My job was, I don't know why, that would be the ending. And I had to go to work while they were pouring the concrete. I had to go there underneath and watch so something don't happen. Mm-hmm. You know, I've been reading all the time about these places collapsing when they overload the tops.
Sure.
I was underneath that when they were pouring all that on top of that iron. Right. So that's it, but I'm still alive. But that was the only thing that I feared on that job, not the rest climbing or something.
I know that I just sat there and watched it built because it was so fascinating to watch. You know, I had to get that thing way up, and then I had the opportunity to go inside the tower too, and I was surprised that it was not one motor that ran all four clocks, but each clock had its own individual motor, and that was something to see. So
there was a tavern about a block away from building here. She said, go over there and celebrate. And boy, we did celebrate.
At one time they doused it because of the energy crunch, but they found that ships in Lake Michigan were using it as sighting, and so they were asked to turn it back on, which I think, was something that we probably should have done too, because it's such a a mark at Ellen Bradley here in Milwaukee. I mean, you have commercials on television now that will tell you their location is 2 blocks west of the clock tower, and that is something, again, that goes into this total mix that I was talking about that makes Ellen Bradley unique, and the clock tower certainly is one element of that.